Hi, my name is Gaurav Joshi. Today I'm going to talk to you about how to integrate Apple Pay with Mastercard Gateway. Apple Pay is a mobile wallet by Apple. It allows users to make payments using Apple devices. Now, Apple Pay is supported in Mastercard Gateway using Direct Pay API. To see the payment flow, you can navigate here. The entire payment flow is documented here. Basically, we are implementing Mastercard Payment Gateway using Direct Payment API with gateway managed decryption. What it means is like the user, the payer, pays with Apple Pay on an iPhone device. The iOS device authenticates the payment using Face ID or Touch ID. An encrypted token is generated. It flows through Apple's security element to our app, to our node backend, and into the Mastercard gateway. The gateway decrypts the token, authorizes the payment with the card issuer, and returns the payment. The backend of the app never sees the raw card data. It is only getting the token. Our stack that we are using is Swift UI iOS app. The backend is Node.js, and we're using Mastercard Payment Gateway for direct API. And the environment that we're using is MTF. It's a test facility. To give you some context about what is gateway managed decryption, you pass the encrypted token as is to the gateway, which decrypts it using the certificate that we have uploaded or that you would have uploaded. And it means that the server never touches the card data, like our backend never touches the card data. It reduces the PCI compliance scope considerably. So where to find the documentation? To go to payment methods, mobile wallets. This is a context about mobile wallets, and this is Apple Pay. So this is where the documentation for Apple Pay is mentioned on the integration guide. So this is the backend of the mobile app. I did the transaction, and here you can see that the gateway URL was called. This is the order ID. A pay operation was called. This is the information, the payment token that was received and then sent to to the gateway. The gateway said yes, it is approved, and the gateway response was approved and proceed. Now we will see how the transaction looks in merchant admin portal. So if you see, this is the order ID ending with M4S. Where is the order ID? Yeah, ending with M4S. This is the order ID, and I'll show you on the merchant portal. So M4S. Now let's see. It was a transaction of $56.56. The transaction was approved. So what we can see is we did the transaction in the app. The transaction we saw the response in the backend server, and then we can see the API response also coming in here. That means the transaction is successfully captured. So to implement Apple Pay, Apple has documented their steps very clearly, and we need to follow it step by step to implement Apple Pay. So you can search for Apple Pay test cards. So this is the first link that comes in Google. You have to go here. So basically, we will be testing in a sandbox environment. So there are two major steps that we need to set up. Like one is a developer account and a website. We'll have to set up the certificates. And the second is the creating a sandbox tester account. I'll quickly open the sandbox tester account first. So basically we need to click on App Store Connect. I have that link open with me. So it will redirect me to the sandbox page. Basically, I need to add a few users here. Like I'm going to give a demo with these two sandbox Apple account. You need to basically create a test account. first name, last name, and a new email address, a completely new email address that it's better to create using Gmail or any other email provider, but it should be a new email altogether. And once you do that, it will ask, let's take an example, okay? And we need to select the country or region as US because US supports Apple Pay. So we're creating this. So a new test account gets saved. So we have just completed this step right here. You will have to again go into like the Gmail provider and put in those details. So at least you have that account ready because we will have to log in into the Apple main Apple ID as well as in the Sandbox account. So please keep that account handy. To use Apple Pay, we need to configure the Apple Pay into the iOS application. The iOS application needs to speak with Mastercard Gateway, then it needs to speak with the Apple developer account. So how do you do that? So in Mastercard Gateway, we have to go to admin settings, we have to go to device payments to create a new certificate. Similarly, in Apple developer, you have to do the same steps. So we have to go into identifier and create a new identifier, select merchant IDs, create a description. Click on continue, register it. Next, we need to go into Mastercard Gateway, add a new certificate. You have to download a CSR certificate signing request. So this is downloaded. Have to save it. Now go into developer.apple.com. Click here, create certificate. Will it be exclusively processed in China mainland? So no. Then upload the certificate. So the CSR request. Now you have to download the certificate from Apple's site. Go into Mastercard Gateway, upload the certificate. So now this is done. One thing that I missed to tell you is like we have to, like when you're creating an identifier, so we gave the name this, like the identifier. What is this? What is this identifier? Identifier is basically this one here, like the merchant ID that is configured in the app itself. So this app knows that it is speaking with Mastercard Gateway, and then it is also speaking with the Apple developer account. So I'll quickly explain the backend implementation for Apple Pay. You can see the documentation here on the integration guide. What we'll try to implement is a payment API call. Like instead of an authorized that is mentioned here, I'll do a pay operation. The pay operation documentation is mentioned here in the API reference section. So this is the specs for pay operation. Essentially, this is the payment token that will be generated and being sent to Mastercard gateway. Uh, you would be interested to know about the payment token format. So this is again documented by Apple Pay. So if you want, you can read through it. You can also, while testing the integration, there are certain scenarios that you can test with. Like these certain scenarios are like if you send $56.56, that is an approved transaction. 57.57 is a declined transaction. Now let's quickly go over the backend. Now this is a simple Node.js server. You can put in your merchant ID, API password. You're using API version as 100, and this is the API call. This is coming from the front end to the back end. We are looking for the order ID that is also that is generated in the front end, amount, currency token, etc. We are putting it dynamically into, we're creating the gateway URL, like a these are basically configurations that are mentioned here. This is the base URL, this is the API version. So and then we are creating this pay operation here, and this is the payment token that is coming from the front end. We are generating the entire payload and then sending it to Mastercard gateway for processing the transaction. What is the response? We then send it back to the front end, success failure, to the front end, and the front end manages the flow thereon. This is the backend for the app itself. Let's go over the front-end application now, the iOS application. Essentially, this is your page that you would be managing, but I'll quickly show you what I have done. This is the entry point of the application. Uh, these pages, like the content view, I'm actually managing this page. Like this is only one product that I'm demonstrating. So this is like a $56.56 amount. This is a basic product because this is a successful transaction that I'm trying to demonstrate with the app. Here, like you would be essentially managing the product card how you want to show it. So that this is completely your implementation. Then this is the cart view. Cart view is this aspect right here. When you click on the cart view, how do you manage the cart? Again, this will be your implementation. The important part is what happens after you click on pay with Apple Pay. Before we go into more code, let's quickly go over the conceptual diagram of what is happening across these files. So here you can see there is three files that are being referenced: cart view, payment handler, network manager. The cart view, payment handler, and the network manager. The cart view is what you see here. The cart view, it is actually initiating the Apple Pay, builds the like the cart items, and basically calls the Apple sheet, presents the Apple sheet. Like here, when you click on so when the Apple Pay is clicked, you're actually calling the payment handler, which is presenting the Apple Pay sheet. When you double click this, when you double click on the side button of the simulator, it is authenticating using Face ID, generating a token, basically whatever cards you have added in Apple Pay. Uh, the, the digital token is extracted and sent to the cart view for completion of the payment. The cart view then takes that token and then sends it to network manager. Network manager is another file right here. It is calling the backend, that is the backend that is mentioned over here. We're calling this API right here, making a payment API call. What is happening is here the backend then goes to the Mastercard gateway to do the entire payment transaction, and then you get a response from the network manager, which is then getting sent back to CartView, showing either the transaction was a success or a failure. So at a high level, this is what is happening. Now we'll go over the code of how it is, how each page is being rendered. So let's go to the cart view, the view that is initiating the Apple Pay. So this is the cart view. Here we are displaying the Apple Pay button. Let's go into Apple Pay button. Here I've added this step, like payment handler is available, is Apple Pay available. You can see, you can go into the file of payment handler. It is checking if Apple Pay is available or not. However, this is what is of importance. Like when you click on it, initiate Apple Pay. So here, when you click on Apple Pay, is creating a summary, creating an array of all the items here. What is the total amount that is being saved into this payment summary items, and it is being sent to payment handler dot start payment. So start payment. When you click on start payment, you come into payment handler. This is the start payment function. Basically, what you're doing is pulling in the merchant identifier, creating an like an object. Like this is the merchant identifier that you need to use. So it is mentioned here, merchant.com. This is also the same thing that you have to mention here in Apple Pay merchant ID. If you remember, we need to look at. So this is the merchant identifier that you need to be using. So coming back, we have called the we have created that object, merchant identifier, with putting certain details like country code, currency code. Then we are calling this controller. What is happening here is like this Apple Pay is being called here, like this button, like this Apple Pay, this sheet is being presented. So here the Apple sheet was presented successfully. Now this is now whatever the user enters here, selects the card and double clicks it, all is being handled by Apple itself. And in the end, we will receive only the token that is generated from the device, and it is handed over programmatically to the program. And once that is done, we are creating like an object of like for like capturing the token details. So now we have the token details inside extracted object, and then we what we do is we once this whole thing is successful, we once this transaction is successful, once we have the code, the token itself, then we have to go back to the cart view. So we are dismissing this controller, and then we're going back to the cart view with the payment data JSON, which has the token. So we are going back to the cart view. Here we are in the cart view. So if the payment was success, we have the payment token. Now we call the process payment. Now process payment is the next function. Here we are creating the values that need to be sent to Mastercard gateway. So what all do? We create an order ID. Now an order ID is basically for any transaction you need an order ID. So we are generating a random order ID here. Then we're calling network manager dot process payment. This is where we send the payment request to the backend. We have the payment token that is being sent to the backend. Now the backend is mentioned over here. Like at the local implementation, it's on my device. Now, why have I kept this rather than localhost 3000? Because what happens is I had to use a physical device to do the payment, so it had to be on the same Wi-Fi network. So that's why I used 192.168.1 as the IP address. However, the transaction is basically flowing to the backend over here, the server. Yeah, so this is the backend API that is being called, and here we are calling the gateways. We are calling the gateways pay API. We are creating the payload itself. We are calling the API. We are getting a response here from the Mastercard gateway, and then we are sending this back to the front end application as a response back. So it comes back to the front end application. Configuring request. This is sent. So this is the request that is sent, and this is where you parse the response that is coming from the gateway. So when we parse the response, we look for the gateway code, was it approved, or the acquirer code was 0 or 00. So basically, if it is approved and acquirer code is 00, it means the transaction was successful. So close. This is where we close and go back to the cart view. So once we go back to the cart view, it just checks if the transaction acquirer code was 00, that's when we display in the page on the page that yes, the transaction was successful, your payment has been successful, and the order ID is mentioned on the page itself, which is being generated again in the network manager.